CM 365, all about Carnatic music. The way the ragas of our Indian classical music, especially Carnatic music, have been classified is indeed really very, very amazing. We all know that we have the 72 Mela Kartas, and from this we are able to derive a number of Janya ragas. Now, the way these Janya ragas are derived from these Mela Karta ragas are also very logical and scientific. And let's look at that now today from that point of view as to how we are able to derive Janya ragas from these Mela Karta ragas and what are the possibilities in terms of the number. If you look at the Mela Karta ragas, we see that after that they are the Sampurna category in the sense that all of them have got 7 notes in their Arohana and the Avarohana. The next category I mentioned earlier also is the 6-note ragas, which are known as Shadava. Then we have the 5-note ragas, which are Audava. Now, based on this, if you take the classifications which can be derived from the combination of 7, 6 and 5 notes, we see that these are the possible combinations which we could have. First is of course a Shadava Sampurna scale, in the sense that Arohana having 6 notes, Avarohana having 7 notes, or Audava Sampurna scale, where you have 5 notes in the Arohanam and 7 notes in the Avarohanam. Then Sampurna Shadava, that is Arohanam has got the Sampurna, that is 7 notes, Avarohanam has got 6 notes. Then Sampurna Audava, similarly, that is Arohana has got all the 7 notes and Avarohana has got 5 notes. Then likewise you see Shadava Shadava, Shadava Audava, Audava Shadava and Audava Audava. That is, these are all the possible combinations which we can have out of the Mela Karta ragas in terms of the combination of 7, 6 and 5 notes in their different possible varieties. Now let us further look to see what are the maximum possible combinations in terms of the number that we can arrive from these, that is in terms of the Janya ragas. Now the Shadava Sampurna combination which I was mentioning earlier, that is if you take 6 notes in the ascent and 7 notes in the descent, you can see that from one particular Mela Karta raga you can derive 6 kind of combinations from this. Likewise, the Sampurna Shadava combination, there also, that is the reverse of this, Shadava Sampurna or Sampurna Shadava, whatever it is, we see that from each Mela Karta the possible combination that you can arrive at are the 6 combinations. When it comes to the next, that is the Audava Sampurna category, by the removal of, that is each note, that is making it a 5-note scale in the Arohana and 7 notes in the Avarohana, through that possible combination we can get 15 varieties. Similarly, in the converse, that is Sampurna Audava, that is Arohana has got all the 7 notes and the Avarohana having 5 notes, where the 5 notes in the sense that you can have the deletion of any note in that, for that matter, in the Re can be deleted, then the Ga, then the Ma, then the Pa, like that you keep on deleting one note at the other, and then you would arrive at 15 other varieties. Now the Shadava Shadava combination, that is a 6th variety in terms of the 6 notes in the Arohana and the Avarohana, the possible number of combinations are 36, that is 6 into 6, 36 combinations. Similarly, you see that in the Audava Shadava combination there are more varieties, in the sense you can have 15 into 6, that is 90 varieties. And the converse is also there, like Shadava Audava combination gives another 90, like Audava Shadava, similarly in the reversal order Shadava Audava variety you have another 90. Now the total number of Audava combination, that is 5 notes in the Arohanam and 5 notes in the Avarohanam. By that you see there can be 15 possible combinations in the Arohana Krama, 15 in the Avarohana Krama, which makes it 15 into 15, 225 ragas. That is 225 kinds of scales can be generated out of it. Now adding all this, we see that from a single particular Mela Karta, of course whether all these translate into ragas, that is a different question, where we really do not have this many ragas, but I am just talking about the possible scales that can be derived by the permutation combination of these notes. So by adding all this we come to a the number 483. So there are 483 possible combinations which can be derived as Janya ragas from a single Melakarta in terms of using 7, 6 and 5 notes. Now, since every Melakarta admits of these 483, now if we are wanting to derive scales from all the 72 Melakartas, it will be like 483 into 72, which makes it 34,736 possible scales which can be derived from the 72 Melakartas. I was making a mention about the way the ragas are conceived. I'll just give you one small example. Of course, as I mentioned just before also, that all these scales need not actually translate into ragas in terms of having a composition or something in them. But what are the possibilities and how the possibilities work, I'll just give you one small example for that. Let us take the example of one ragam of 6/6, that is Shadava variety. I will take the Shankarabharanam scale and show you how the possible combinations happen by deletion of each note. Now, Shankarabharanam, we all know, takes the notes sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa. I'm rendering it as plain because I'm just going to show you some of the scales here. So now, by the combination of 6 and 6, one of the variety which I was talking about, sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, sa, sa, da, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa. I'll show you the other also, how the 6 varieties happens. The next possible, sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, ni, sa, sa, ni, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa. Next combination, sa, ri, ga, ma, da, ni, sa, sa, ni, da, ma, ga, ri, sa. The next combination, sa, ri, ga, pa, da, ni, sa, sa, ni, da, pa, ga, ri, sa. Next 6 combination, sa, ri, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ri, sa. The next combination, sa, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, sa. Of course, in this 6-note kind of variety, we have very few ragas only. Now, when we move on to the 5 notes, we see that there are more number of Janya ragas. Another point here is, of course, all these ragas that we are talking about as a permutation combination where we derived this number of 34,776 are only Upanga ragas, in the sense that these are ragas which do not include the Vakra kind of ragas or the Bhashanga ragas which we have in our music. There are many more ragas which come under the category of Vakra ragas, like for example Begada, Ritigoda and other things which go through a zigzag movement. Or we also have the Bhashanga ragas, so many of them which take foreign notes. So those are a different thing. The basic kind of Upanga ragas which can be derived from this 72 Melagarthas in terms of the scale I have just shown to you. Of course, as I always say, the scales come alive only through the compositions. So in all these number that I have spoken, some of them have been taken up for compositions and thus these scales have come alive as ragas. And probably in future also somebody may compose a composition, any of the other scales for which there are no compositions, and thus they would also come to live as ragas for us.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.